So the engines are fired. What a glorious sound after so many months of uncertainty and waiting. This, the 12th of July, 2020, the 2020 Daniel Ricciardo Series gets underway. And suddenly, with sound of two-stroke engines filling the air, smoke coming out of the exhaust, just for a moment life is back to normal, and the drivers on their outlap as they go around top bend and they come in. This is the dog leg, this very tight left-right section that leads you out onto bottom bend and then up towards bottom straight through middle bend. And now they come into what is known as the elbow, following the 127 kart of Harry Bartle around. They come out of the elbow through the final corner onto the very short start finish straight. So not a lot of room for drivers to make a move coming out of the final corner. If you've got the lead coming out of that final corner, it's highly unlikely that you'll get slipstream before you get the finish line. Already, drivers are spreading out around this near 1,000 metre circuit. They complete their outlap, so this will be their first real flying lap for a lot of these drivers. But with grip levels set to increase as the session goes on, see a lot of chopping and changing before we get an established order. There on your screen, that very distinctive black, pink and yellow race suit is number 8, Sherry Ann Powell. Looking to obviously improve on last year's 8th place championship finish. Into the loop on the screen now. Out towards top bend. Just watching at the moment on the timing screen. Josh Turnbull, driver number 7, a time of 49.071, has gone quickest of all. Archie Heron, 49.073, just 2,000th of a second slower. He is in P2. Connor Scarisbrick, last year Connor did a part season in the DRS series, and he is now third in part 121. Then Archie Pitts Drake. Archie, he did do a couple of rounds last year, but not enough to get off his rookie status. You could dip your toe in the water in 2019, so to speak, and still retain your rookie status for 2020. That's what Archie has done. As Scarisbrick goes quickest of all, 48.955. Sherry Ann Powell on the screens at the moment. Sherry Ann Powell is 12th at current 6.5 minutes to go. Scarisbrick from Turnbull, from Jack Robinson, leading rookie. Start with the 129, then Archie Heron, Jacob Ashcroft, Jamie Scott, Archie Pitts Drake, George Barker, Harry Bartle and Jasmine Taylor rounding out the top 10 at the moment. And there's Sherry Ann Powell and the number 4 kart of Jamie Gurney going side by side with that is the number 1, 2, 3 kart in just behind them. That is Rory Armstrong, one of our, I think, what a problem for driver number 86. That's Donnell Stratton. So Donnell Stratton, his qualifying session comes to an early finish, and Stratton is not amongst the top 20, so he'll be starting the heat from towards the rear of the grid, unfortunately. 5.5 minutes to go. It's still Scarisbrick, 48.955 seconds. He is 400ths quicker than Josh Turnbull, who's at a 49.002. 49.029 as Turnbull there goes quicker again. So Turnbull now to the top of the charts. 48.851 seconds. Still, Sherry Ann Powell and number 4 kart of Jamie Gurney on your screens, swapping and chopping and changing positions. Now I'm looking there, Powell is only 9th at the moment, and Gurney is only 15th, so this tactic of passing and repassing one another is not working, as Jack Robinson, a rookie, 48.800 goes quickest. So it's now Robinson from Turnbull, Scarisbrick, Heron, Ashcroft and Scott the top 6. Pitts Drake runs 7th and Bartle 8th quickest. Barker is 9th and Sherry Ann Powell 10th ahead of Jasmine Taylor. Finley Lyons is 12th fastest, followed by James Roberts, Jackson Lane, Eddie Stewart, and then in 16th position, disappointing at the moment, is Jamie Gurney. Rory Armstrong, Ollie Morrish, Adam Bourne, Oliver Harrison complete the top 20 with the aforementioned Donnell Stratton down to 21st and set to go no higher. Zach McDonald and Ewan Scott next in line. There is the number 3 and the number 7 car on your screen. So Turnbull has a little bit of work to do. He's got to find 500ths of a second to usurp Jack Robinson from top spot. Now, I haven't seen Robinson on screen, but Turnbull is following Archie Heron. Oh, and a yellow flag waving and a Marshall running towards the dog leg, so obviously been an issue at the dog leg for one driver. Now there's Scarisbrick in kart number 121 with that black and green livery crash helmet. You can see several drivers off at the dog leg being pushed away. We'll try and get number checks on them now. Here we'll coming into the dog leg following Archie Heron and Josh Turnbull. They're single file, so obviously no overtaking. They're following Scarisbrick. Couldn't quite see the drivers off the side of the circuit, but all this is helping Jack Robinson to continue to lead the way. Now, Jasmine Taylor has dropped down to 17th position. Trying to see, I think Jasmine in kart number 106, the young lady from Bristol, may have been one of the drivers that was involved in that incident down at the dog leg. She certainly has, though she has just completed another lap, so I do apologise to Jasmine Taylor fans. Now, 2.5 minutes to go. Out of the dog leg, still camera following Scarisbrick, who is 3rd fastest. Heron in the number 3 kart, who is 4th fastest, and Turnbull in the number 7 kart, who is 2nd quickest. So these 3 are the best placed to try and challenge Jack Robinson. Trying to see out of the commentary box window where Robinson is. It's been a fantastic lap from the rookie driver. In that lap, away from our view, away from my viewpoint. Can Scarisbrick, who is being not pushed along by the number 7 kart of Turnbull, but Turnbull is in his slipstream. Now the number 3 kart of Archie Heron. Now Heron has dropped back a couple of kart lengths. Now that is going to try and give him a target to aim at, so he's done that deliberately. Now he'll try and put the pedal to the metal as they come out of the final corner. He can now use these 2 karts in front of him that you're watching on your screen now as a target. There is the number 126 kart of Daxton Groves, by the looks of it, off the side of the circuit. So Daxton Groves is out of this session, and he's in 24th or 25th position at the moment. So can Archie Heron, in the final 50 seconds, use that gap to his advantage? There is the number 111 car, Eddie Stewart, moving up into 9th place. 2nd of the rookies. See, Heron has now closed in on Turnbull and Scarisbrick. Is this now giving him a tow? Coming around to complete the lap, and does it improve his time with 20 seconds remaining? No, it does not. It is still Robinson, Turnbull, Scarisbrick, Heron, Ashcroft, Gurney, Sherry Ann Powell and Jamie Scott, your top 8. Eddie Stewart is 9th, Archie Pitts Drake 10th, then Rory Armstrong, Finley Lyons, Harry Bartle, George Barker and James Roberts, your top 15, as the checkered flag waves. So Gurney and Powell take the checkered flag. They stay 6th and 7th. Stewart remains 9th, Rory Armstrong 11th, Pitts Drake in 10th. See, here comes Turnbull in cart number 7. Last couple of corners. Can Turnbull, Scarisbrick or Heron do anything? Turnbull, no they can't. They stay as they were. 2nd for Turnbull, 3rd for Scarisbrick, 4th for Heron. But the star of the show, unseen by us, is number 129, rookie driver Jack Robinson. With a lap of 48.800 seconds. First time out in the Daniel Ricciardo series for Robinson, and a provisional, subject of course to all the post-race scrutineering checks that still have to be done, but they have to be done in a different way, sort of maintaining the... So here is the starting grid for the opening race of the 2020 season. DRS62 had qualifying, and now into what will be an 8-minute plus 1 lap heat. Pole position, number 129, Jack Robinson, alongside Jack on the front row of the grid. Number 7, Josh Turnbull. Row number 2, Connor Scarisbrick in cart number 121, and driver number 3, Archie Heron. On row 3, number 117, Jacob Ashcroft, and number 4, Jamie Gurney. On to row number 4 now, and it's Sherry Ann Powell in cart number 8. She is joined by Jamie Scott in cart number 6. Row 5 sees number 111, Eddie Stewart, qualifying 9th fastest, and rounding out the top 10, Archie Pitts Drake in cart 119. Row 6 will be Rory Armstrong in cart 123 and Finley Lyons in cart 130. Row number 7, Harry Bartle in cart 127 and George Barker in cart 63. On row number 8 we find James Roberts in cart 114 and Jackson Lane in cart number 131. Jasmine Taylor in cart number 106 and Adam Bourne in cart 122. They round out the 9th row of the starting grid. Row 10 sees number 113, Ollie Morris, joined by Oliver Harrison in cart number 118. They round out the top 20. Starting 21st will be driver 104, Zach McDonald, and Donnell Stratton in cart 86. On the 12th row of the grid, we see driver number 92, Ewan Scott, and number 24, Maximilian Reed. Rounding out this 25-strong DRS62 grid after a problem in timed qualifying, but hopefully that will be fixed now, and the number 126 cart will be ready to go. Of course, it's been a long time since any of these young drivers started a race. Some of them haven't been in a kart since Tooting Park last November. So understand that there's a few butterflies fluttering around inside those race suits and those crash helmets. But this time the start looks better and we are off and racing. Into turn number 1 we go, and good start from Robinson. As they come into, and there's the loop now. Robinson leads, Scarisbrick up into 2nd position. There's the number 7 cart of Turnbull in 3rd. Everybody through the first couple of corners cleanly. Now they're up to top bend, and once again, everybody behaving themselves. Now, this is where Robinson comes into pressure, coming into the dogleg for the first time. But Scarisbrick right on his rear bumper, cannot make the move. Robinson, and already the signalling goes out saying, right, come on, we've got to work together. Scarisbrick signalling to Turnbull in cart number 7. We've got to try and work together. Oh, and there's carts off there at the back of the pack. Yellow flags waving. We'll get a number check on them next time by, but it is still the poleman, number 129, Jack Robinson leading at the end of lap number 1. This 8-minute plus 1 lap race. Scary's Brick second, Turnbull in third. Then it is the number 4 car of Jamie Gurney in fourth. Heron in fifth, followed by Scott Ashcroft, Pitch Drake and Sherry Ann Powell. Trying to get read on who were, well, Eddie Stewart and George Barker were two of the drivers that came together and collided on the opening lap down at the dogleg, but still up at the front. Oh, there's a move there as Gurney goes to the inside, up on the curbs, coming out of bottom bend there for Jamie Gurney, trying to wrestle third place away, and it's cost him a spot to Archie Heron, it seems. So this is where momentum is the key around Rissington, and if one move doesn't pay off, then it can cost you a position, and it takes a little bit of time to sort of build that momentum back up, by which time the driver that you were trying to pass is 10 cart lengths up the road, and 2 drivers that we're trying to keep behind have now settled in front of you. But into the dogleg on lap number 3, it is still Roberts defending the inside line, as is his wont, and is his right. Scary's Brick now up to the inside there. Turnbull looks briefly to the inside of Scary's Brick for third, but second rather, and sides better of it, because he has Heron and Gurney right behind him. These 5 now broken away a little bit, and Robinson again defending, or not being overly defended, but certainly taking a more defensive than offensive line into the final corner. Of course, now he's in a situation where if Scary's Brick does get alongside him, and Robinson won't lose the lead, he'll probably use 3 or 4 places. Behind the top 5, Ashcroft is 6th, 1.6 seconds behind the lead quintet. Into the dogleg once again. Still Robinson from Scary's Brick, cart number 121. Where is Scary's Brick going to try and make moves? Is he going to dink outside to the inside rather, coming into the elbow? Not this time. And as Robinson focuses on defending more and more, that is bringing the 6th, 7th and 8th place carts, and now Turnbull has made his move, passes Scary's Brick for second. He said to himself, well, Connor, you've had a couple of laps to make the move, you haven't made it, so it's my go. There is, bouncing over the inside curb, going into the loop there is Archie Heron. And out of top bend, now side by side, here comes Turnbull. He's on the outside line going into the dogleg, but will he try the cutback and the crossover move coming out of the dogleg? Well, Scary's Brick is there. Oh, and a little bit of barging there coming out of the dogleg there. That's cost Turnbull, and it's cost Scary's Brick. It's allowed Robinson to continue with up into second place now is number 4, Jamie Gurney, with Archie Heron right behind him. Gurney straight to the inside, and on lap number 5, the pole sitter finally gets pushed back out of the race lead. Gurney takes the lead. Turnbull trying to fight back in third place. Here comes Robinson to the inside, coming through turn 2 into the loop, but Gurney has the line covered, and here comes Sherry Ann Powell, Jacob Ashcroft, Jamie Scott, all into this lead group now, which has now grown from 5 carts to about 9 or 10. As Ashcroft trying to make the move, he is up into 5th or 6th position now, but it is Gurney leading Robinson, leading the number 7 cart of Turnbull, leading the number 3 of Heron. Then a gap back to the 5th place driver. That 5th place driver is it's been opened up a little bit because there was that attempted pass a few corners ago, didn't quite work. Into turn 2 they go. Still number 4 cart, Gurney leading. He's not being as defensive. You can see it by his lines around top end. He's not being as defensive as Robinson was. Well, Robinson hasn't been able to get alongside. He's going to have to defend coming into the dog leg, although he doesn't really. No, he doesn't take the inside line, so he's thinking about corner exit speed there. And of course, this is helping that 10-strong pack. Well, it's helping Gurney reduce that 10-strong lead pack to just 4 at the moment, because Scary's Brick in 5th. And there's a move though, as Robinson tries to take the lead back at the elbow, overshoots the corner ever so slightly. Gurney does the switch back, and that actually cost Robinson 2nd and 3rd place, because here comes Turnbull in 2nd, Heron in 3rd. So it's now Gurney, Turnbull, Heron the top three. Then Robinson, then a gap back to Connor Scarisbrick in 5th position in cart number 121. And he has got Ashcroft, Pitts Drake, Sherry-Ann Powell and Jamie Scott right behind him. Harry Bartle runs 10th, James Roberts is 11th, Ollie Morris is 12th, Finley Lyons is 13th, Jasmine Taylor 14th, followed by Rory Armstrong. But we're looking at Gurney trying to retain the lead from Turnbull coming out of the dogleg on this lap number 8 with less than 2 minutes plus a lap to go. So Gurney did the hard work, and he's now left the door wide open there for Turnbull to come sailing up the inside into the elbow. Turnbull takes the lead. Heron goes through into 2nd position. Gurney fights back though, retakes 2nd place coming into turn number 1, and here comes Robinson now up the inside into turn 2, and he gets alongside Heron and gets the door closed on him coming through top bend. Scarisbrick is closed, so this battling has brought Scarisbrick back into play, and Gurney did all that hard work running, fast pace for a couple of laps, and now, because there's been a couple of moves and the drivers at the front are battling again, that chasing group is going to close back up. Scarisbrick is the first one to join the lead party. They're all coming up on a slower kart as well. One of the rookie drivers, that is going to be, I think, number 1. Oh, he gets out of the way. It's number 128. Turnbull who leads. Clock ticking down. Turnbull in cart number 7. Leads Gurney in cart 4. Then Robinson in cart number 129. Followed by Heron. Heron to the inside of Robinson, though, coming into the dogleg for P3. And Heron gets the spot. Sherry-Ann Powell is now moving into the top 5. You can see Sherry-Ann Powell back of this league group. Scarisbrick is there as well. 2, 4, 6 drivers. That make that 7, in fact, all in the league group. Although, who is that in 7th place? It's Archie Pitts Drake. So Jacob Ashcroft and Jamie Scott have both lost ground, and Archie Pitts Drake in cart number 119 has a battle for the lead. Gurney at the inside, going round the loop, but that's going to mean on the outside line for the run round top bend. That gives the lead back to Turnbull. This is the final lap. Into the dogleg for the final time. Turnbull hard on the anchors to the inside. Oh, Archie Heron up on those curbs. He's side by side for second with Gurney. Is that going to give Turnbull the break he needs with just 3 corners to go? I think it has, because Turnbull is now not under pressure for the run into the elbow. Gurney defending 2nd place from Heron. Oh, side by side, Heron at the inside of the final corner, and doesn't quite make it stick. It's Turnbull with the win by under half a second, with Jamie Gurney 2nd, Archie Heron finishing 3rd with the fastest lap of the race at 48.770 second. Jack Robinson, great result for the novice, started from pole, faded to 4th, but a great fighting drive from Robinson to round at the top 4. Scarisbrick was 5th, followed by Archie Pitts Drake, a very impressive 6th. Sherry-Ann Powell comes home in 7th place, and the top 7 drivers separated by just 1.7 seconds at the end. 8th for Jamie Scott, 9th for Jacob Ashcroft, and the top 10 rounded up by another rookie driver, Harry Bartle, in cart number 127. Let's have a little look back at some of the action, courtesy of our Alpha Live replays. Here was the start. Well, actually, just looked at the start. It could have been lap 7 after that race. No, it was the start there, as Jacob Robinson started that race ever so well, and held on to the lead for the first 4 or 5 laps. Connor Scarisbrick in cart number 121 was the first driver to really try his luck at getting the lead, but then when Scarisbrick couldn't, number 7, Josh Turnbull, thought he'd have a go at Turnbull. A bit more experienced than Scarisbrick. Wasted little time in outmaneuvering Jacob Robinson for the lead, although it was Jamie Gurney as well who made the initial move inside the elbow point, with Heron bouncing over the curbs. Now Robinson was 2nd at this point, but then he tried to fight back and it cost him a couple of little places there, but that's experience for you. still recovered well to stay in that lead group. It was James Gurney who led the middle portion of the race, with the number 7 car of Josh Turnbull following in his wheel tracks. And then Gurney bend from Heron and Robinson, which allowed Turnbull to make a free getaway. Gurney had stretched the pack out a little bit, but then, as you can see, when he started battling again, the pack closed back in. Turnbull was able to get round the last lap virtually unscathed. Heron, on the very final corner, making a move per second, bouncing over the inside curve, but couldn't quite pull it off. So most of these drivers is their first race meeting of the year. Here is the grid. Pole position. The heat winner, number 7, Josh Turnbull, alongside Josh, number 4, Jamie Gurney. Number 3, Archie Heron, starts third on the grid, and of course the single-digit drivers, 7, 4 and the 3, that signifies their finishing position in last year's championship. Now, star of the show so far, number 129, Jack Robinson, pole position for the heat, finished 4th, starts on the outside of row 2 for this race. Connor Scarisbrick and Archie Pitts-Drake, second best placed rookie on the grid, they start from row 3. Row 4. Fastest young lady in the field, Sherry Ann Powell, starting 7th alongside Jamie Scott, while the top 10 is rounded out by Jacob Ashcroft and Harry Bartle. Just outside the top 10, James Roberts and Finlay Lines start on row number 6. Row 7, Jasmine Taylor, a little bit unlucky, has been battling carb issues this weekend, but is salvaging a good run from what she has got, and she starts 13th alongside Ollie Morrish, with Rory Armstrong and Eddie Stewart on row 8, George Barker and Donnell Stratton, who had problems in qualifying but recovered well in his heat race to finish 18th. Starting 19th will be Adam Bourne in kart 122, and rounding out the top 20 will be Jackson Lane in kart 131. Ewan Scott and Oliver Harrison start on row 11, Zach McDonald and Maximilian Reed on row number 12. And at the back of the grid, Daxton Groves in kart number 126. Daxton had a little off at the start of the heat race, but recovered to finish strongly in what is his first outing in the Daniel Ricciardo series. A reminder, once again, that would be conclusion of our Alpha Live grid for the DRS62 Pre-Grand Prix. A reminder, the drivers with black plates and white numbers, they are the rookies. It is their first full season in the Daniel Ricciardo series. Now, this time we are away in racing. It's a good start for the poleman Turnbull, who leads the field in turn number 1, and all 25 drivers cleanly through the first corner into turn 2, and now around the loop. And it is Turnbull leading, and Archie Heron up in the second place. Side by side, that Scarisbrick up the inside of Gurney for third. Everybody else safely through top bend, and now down the back straight they'll cut into the dog leg. Hard the brakes. Sherry Ann Powell looks like she is making progress there, and she's challenging for a place in the top 5 in kart number 8. See that with the bright pink and yellow race suit. Out of bottom bend into middle bend, and now the elbow. It is Turnbull, Heron and Gurney, the top 3. Then Scarisbrick. Powell is 4th. Then it is Robinson in kart number Jack Robinson in kart number 129. Dropped a couple of places from the start, but still a very creditable 6th position, and a gap back to 7th place, which would be James Roberts, Harry Bartle. So Jamie Scott has dropped back a little way, and Jacob Ashcroft has had a moment in kart number 117 and has dropped all the way back to the back of the pack, sadly. So one of the more experienced drivers in the field, Ashcroft, is already on the back foot and will have to spend the rest of this race fighting his way back up. So the lead battle. Turnbull being traced by Heron. Now Heron swings out wide. He's not going to try and make the pass just yet. He's going to try and push Turnbull away from the pursuing pack. Gurney, Scarisbrick and Powell and Robinson are all there. And if Joshua Turnbull starts to defend, then that group of 2, 4, 5, 6 carts will grow exponentially to, well, a lot more than 6, and it will grow very quickly. But if Turnbull manages to just work with Heron, and if Heron doesn't try and pass, then they could try and maybe push away and start dropping carts. Robinson would be the first to go in 6th position, then Powell in 5th, then Scarisbrook in 4th, and Gurney in 3rd, until in an ideal world for the top 2 it would be just left to Turnbull and Heron. That's a theory. Doesn't always work out that way, especially when Jamie Gurney sides at the inside of Archie Heron coming into the elbow. The move didn't work, he bounced over the curb, lost a bit of momentum, but it does give Turnbull a little bit of breathing space. Remember, momentum and maintaining it is the key. There goes Scarisbrook in cart number 121, up into 3rd place at the expense of Gurney. So Gurney made a failed passing manoeuvre 4 corners ago, and he still hadn't regained momentum, and it meant that Scarisbrook and now Sherry-Ann Powell both get through. So passing is much trickier than it looks here at Rissington, even though every corner has got a potential to be a passing opportunity. If you get it wrong, then it's going to mess you up for a good lap or so before you can regain your rhythm. Turnbull leads, coming out of the final corner to complete lap number 4. Under 5 minutes remaining. Turnbull and Heron have been 1-2 since the drop of the green flag. The action has been right behind them. Scarisbrook and Sherry-Ann Powell, 3rd and 4th. And Powell looks to the inside of Scarisbrook in the top end, but Scarisbrook is able to just give Sherry-Ann Powell a cart's width on the inside and say, that's fine, I'm going to maintain momentum. It's a nice wide exit to top bend. I'm not going to lose ground, and I'm still going to be on the inside line, even if you get side by side with me before the dog leg. That's the critical thing. So Scarisbrook doesn't worry about defending the inside line through top bend too much. But now Turnbull, well, he was a bit later cutting across to take the racing line than Heron. He just didn't want Heron to try the dummy move up the inside. Heron now trying to cut underneath and coming through turn number 1 for the race lead. That doesn't happen, but Turnbull's going to start a bit more defensive. The gap between the top 6 and Harry Bartle in 7th place is 2.3 seconds. That's going to be the critical gap to watch. There's Sherry-Ann Powell side by side with Scarisbrook and Gurney for 3rd place coming into the dog leg, and that battle is allowing the number 7 of Turnbull and the number 3 of Heron to pull away ever so slightly as they come into middle bend and now the elbow. You can see now Turnbull starting to look over his shoulder. He stays on the inside line, then quickly jinks across, take the preferred racing line into the elbow. He does that again. There's potential for Archie Heron to sell in the dummy, and just as Turnbull is jinking across to take the racing line, Heron can dive back up the inside and potentially take the lead. Potentially. It's one opportunity into the dogleg, and you can see now, with less than 3 minutes to go, Turnbull in cart number 7 is just checking over his shoulder a little bit more often. Heron checks over his shoulder there because he wants to know, if I make the move, is Scarisbrook close enough to stuff his cart where I want to go? And the answer is not quite yet. But again, Turnbull with that late turn in, cuts across, into defend, then cuts across, take the racing line in. It costs him a little bit of momentum, but Heron cannot quite gather enough speed to the final corner to make the move going into turn number 1. Certainly, top 5 are now beginning to drop Jack Robinson, so even with this sort of cat and mouse battle, the 5 leaders are pulling away, and the leading rookie Jack Robinson is starting to fade ever so slightly. Sherry-Ann Powell and Jamie Gurney side by side going into the dogleg. Gurney has 4th place and Powell is 5th now. And Turnbull eases away by a couple of cart lengths, and you can see he knows he's clear because there's that late jinx doesn't take place. He knew that he was not under as much pressure, so he didn't have to make that late dart across the track, and it helps his momentum. Heron isn't close enough to challenge, but because they're not being as defensive, they are beginning to put some clean air between themselves and Scarisbrook with a 1-2-1 car in 3rd position. Gurney is still 4th and Powell is still 5th. This is lap number 9. We've just got just over a minute to go. Behind the top 6, Bartle is still 7th. Jamie Scott is 8th. 9th is James Roberts, 10th is Archie Pitts-Drake. Rory Armstrong is 11th. Jacob Ashcroft has recovered well to run in 12th position, ahead of George Barker, Ollie Morris and Jasmine Taylor, who rounds out the top 15. Then it's Eddie Stewart, Adam Bourne, Zach McDonald, Jackson Lane, Oliver Harrison, Finley Lanes, Daxton Groves, Max Reed, and the rest. 25 drivers still running. Now Heron, with 30 seconds to go, looks a little bit closer in kart number 3. And he's brought Scary's Brick with him. Scary's Brick in turn has got Gurney right behind him. Sherry Ann Powell, a couple of kart lengths off the back of this group. She needs to get her head down and work hard to avoid getting dropped just when it matters most. 20 seconds to go. The clock should strike 0 before they get back to the start-finish line, which means when they get to the start-finish line, they will see the last lap board. There's a long look over the shoulder from Turnbull. He wants to suss out not only where Heron is, but then just see how far back the rest are. Heron dives to the inside, and for the first time, Turnbull side by side now for second place with Scary's Brook. Gurney goes around the outside of them both. So, Heron was able to trick Turnbull into not defending into the elbow. He made the move. Gurney tried to, Scary's Brook tried to go with him. A little bit of side-by-side contact between Scary's Brook and Turnbull. It delayed them both, allowed Gurney to pounce around the outside going into the final corner. But as the last lap unfolds, now Archie Heron finds himself with a 10 kart length lead into the dogleg for the final time. Gurney defending second place from Turnbull. 4th is Scary's Brook, 5th is Sherry Ann Powell. But Archie Heron has got about 3 or 4 kart lengths. He checks over his shoulder. Does he need to defend? He says, no, I don't. Gurney has a little look at the inside and really sends it off into the elbow, but Archie Heron is going to hold on. Perfectly timed. And Archie Heron takes the race victory by 0.3 of a second. Now, there may have been a slight, so we're going to watch this race now. I believe the checkered flag race on the screen said it had finished. Did the drivers see the checkered flag or not? That's the question, and they look like they're still racing, so the checkered flag has now waved. So I apologise if there's any confusion. Obviously I'm following what's on the screen, and that said the race finished, but we'll have to go and see what the drivers didn't see the checkered flag, so they carried on racing. It's an awkward situation, but of course everyone's a little bit rusty here at the start of the season. My results say Archie Heron, and the results screen themselves, and the results, the end of 11 laps, Archie Heron, Jamie Gurney and Joshua Turnbull, the top 3. Connor Scary's Brick and Sherry Ann Powell, 4th and 5th, followed by Jack Robinson, Harry Bartle, Jamie Scott, Archie Pitts-Drake and James Roberts. Now that is unofficial, but that is what my results sheet says. We'll have a little look back, though, at how that pre-Grand Prix unfolded. For those of you on the live stream, again, Turnbull in kart number 7 had the pole position, and he led the early stages, and he had to be defensive from Archie Heron, who grabbed second from outside front rower Jamie Gurney, and once or twice Heron tried the move, but then Turnbull got into his rhythm, and suddenly when Turnbull thought Heron wasn't close enough, he made the move, and that's what really won Heron the race there. The little touch between Turnbull and Scary's Brick coming out of the elbow. Now, as the skiers crossed the line there, Heron had his fist clenched. And it is Joshua Turnbull now. The points have been combined from the races they've held so far today. The qualifying, the heat, pre-final, And now all those points are added together for the grid for this event. Josh Turnbull in kart 7 and Archie Heron in kart 3 start from the front row of the grid. Then it is Jamie Gurney and Jack Robinson on row number 2. Connor Scarisbrick and Sherry Ann Powell will start on row number 3. Jamie Scott and Jacob Ashcroft on row 4. Archie Pitts-Drake and Harry Bartle round out the top 10. James Roberts and Rory Armstrong on row 11. And then on row 12, Eddie Stewart, row 7 rather, 13th and 14th of the grid, Eddie Stewart and George Barker. Finley Lines and Ollie Morris are on row number 8. Jasmine Taylor and Adam Bourne are on row number 9. Row 10, Jackson Lane and Oliver Harrison, then Zach McDonald and Donnell Stratton. With 23rd and 24th on the grid, Ewan Scott and Max Reed. Daxton Groves should be rounding out the field in 25th position in kart number 1, 2, 6. This race will be 10 minutes plus 1 lap. The 4 kart and the number 121 kart. Scarisbrick is up there in 4th place in the grid, so it looks like the number 129 kart and also the number 123. So Jack Robinson also late the grid. He is down there. Max Reed is also down at the back. Sherry Ann Powell. So we've got Heron, Turnbull, Scarisbrick and Gurney up the front. Lights out. Oh, and there's a problem there. Heron gets spun wide. And that is Archie Heron there. There's another couple of carts coming together. Turnbull and Gurney lead. Scarisbrick is 3rd. And that looks like the number 6 kart of Jamie Scott, who is up into 4th place there. But Heron was on the outside. There was a little bit of bumping and boring. And Heron was on the outside and got spun around. There was a couple of carts came together on the inside as well, which probably didn't help matters. And the net result is that Archie Heron from the outside of the front row is now, I'm assuming, almost certainly stone last. Up at the front, it is Turnbull in kart 7, leading Gurney in kart 4. Then the number 121 kart of Scarisbrick. Out of turn number 1 they go, and already Turnbull beginning to defend. That's going to bring Gurney and Scarisbrick right into play. Waiting for the timing and scoring screens to adjust themselves. See where Heron lines up at the end of lap number 1. So apologies if we haven't got the timing and scoring panel on the side of your Alpha Live stream. There appears to be a slight glitch in proceedings up here, but now it reboots itself. Jamie Scott is 4th. James Roberts up into 5th position, but Turnbull having to defend, coming into the elbow. Behind them, Eddie Stewart in 6th, and the top 3 are broken clear. But look at that, the leading rookie is now number 114, James Roberts in 5th position. Jamie Scott there is in kart 6 in 4th place, and it's got Roberts in kart number 114, and the number 111 kart of Eddie Stewart climbing all over the back of him. Behind them is Rory Armstrong, then George Baker, Jasmine Taylor up into 9th place. Great result. So a great first lap for the number 106 kart of Taylor. She is in 9th. Then it's Finley Lines 10th. Ollie Morris 11th. Ashcroft is 12th. Jack Robinson from the back of the grid. He was at the front. He went down to the back. Now he's back going towards the front. He's in a great first lap. Back up to 13th position, as has Sherry Ann Powell into 14th place. Harry Bartle is 15th. Then Archie Pitts-Drake, Ewan Scott, Oliver Harrison, Adam Bourne, Zach McDonald, Jackson Lane, Max Reed, and then Daxton Groves in 23rd place. So Archie Heron all the way back in 24th and last place, and I'm assuming he's still running. So as we are watching this unfold on circuit now, obviously because we've had a slight delay in the timetable because of 1 or 2 incidents, but DRS 100 drivers, you still need to be making sure that you are on the grid at the time on the timetable. You still need to make sure that you are on the grid ready and DRS125 drivers, please be ready to go out onto the grid at the correct time on the timetable, so you are not late to the grid. Now, I'm looking for the number 3 car. We've got 6.5 minutes to go. Sherry-Ann Powell there slicing her way up through. I think she's into the top 10 at the minute, behind Jacob Ashcroft. Here is the battle for 4th place rather, and James Roberts has now got past Jamie Scott in the number 114 kart. I'm thinking that Archie Harrod is still out there, but he is half a lap behind the rest of the field. Unfortunately, he's down in 24th position. There's the battle of the lead coming across the line now, and it is still number 7, Joshua Turnbull, who has the lead from Jamie Gurney. Connor Scarisbrick in kart number 121 is there in 3rd position. Into the loop they go. They are well clear of this battle of the 4th place, which is now led by the leading rookie James Roberts. Fantastic performance from Roberts to be out battling Jamie Scott on the track. Scott, here's a move. Well, Gurney thought about it, but Turnbull is defending. The gap between the top 3 and James Roberts in 4th place is 2 seconds. Will that gap start coming down the more that Turnbull defends? 5 minutes to go, plus a lap. The 7 of Turnbull, the 4 of Gurney, the 121 of Scarisbrick. Into the loop. You can see Roberts in 4th place. The last lap around, he was only a 10th slower than the 3 leaders, so the 3 leaders aren't tripping over themselves too much. But look at that, behind Roberts, there is a gaggle of, I would say, a dozen or more karts, up to 15 karts behind number 114, James Roberts. There's Roberts now coming through the dog leg. He has got Jamie Scott, the number 6 kart, right behind him. Then number 117 of Jacob Ashcroft, who just passed Eddie Stewart, and moving her way through that pack is Sherry-Ann Powell in kart number 8 as Gurney goes for the race lead. Gurney goes to the race lead, runs a little bit wide coming out of the elbow though, and Turnbull fights back. Scarisbrick can't somehow manufacture a gap. That is going to slow the 3 leaders down, and there are another 15 karts. Look at this group coming into the loop now. Roberts still at the head of that pack. James Roberts in kart number 114, getting past there by, Ashcroft gets to the inside. Ashcroft in kart 117 moves into 4th position. Roberts back to 5th. But it's still Turnbull who leads, but 4 minutes to go. This battle, even though they're chopping and changing, there's number 111 kart of Eddie Stewart, still there in, so he's moved up to 6th position now, and Turnbull defending. We saw him do this in the pre-final. Roberts clatters over the curb at the centre of the elbow there. That's going to unsettle him and maybe cost him a little bit of space. James Scott has dropped down back behind Sherry-Ann Powell. So it's Ashcroft in 4th, Roberts 5th, Stewart 6th, Powell 7th, Scott 8th, Robinson is 9th, and Armstrong, Barker, Bartle, Taylor, Lines and Morrish, your top 15. Come into the dog leg. Turnbull, Gurney and Scarisbrick. The 7, the 4 and the 121 out of the dog leg, being chased hard now by Jacob Ashcroft. Ashcroft is still 2.5 seconds back though. That gap can disappear very quickly the more that Turnbull defends, and if you have a little look behind Ashcroft, James Roberts is not in a position to challenge, so Ashcroft isn't defending, although Roberts gets a good run coming out of the final corner. That could all go out the window very soon, going into turn number 1. But it's Turnbull to the inside, still Ashcroft in 4th place. Sherry-Ann Powell now trying to pass number 111, Eddie Stewart. So Sherry-Ann Powell has come from the back of the field. There she goes, up the inside of Stewart, going into top end, but she runs a little bit wide. She should be able to hold the inside line though, to run down towards the dog leg, and that would put Sherry-Ann Powell up into 6th from the back of the grid. And she has made that move stick. Eddie Stewart is now side by side with the number 129 kart, Jack Robinson, who's also come to the back of the grid as a rookie and is currently in 8th but looking for 7th. Fantastic recovery drive from Robinson. as well as Powell. We're on lap number 11, less than 2 minutes to go. Sherry and Powell has set the fastest lap of the race. 48.891 seconds. Turnbull, Gurney and Scarisbrick still have that 2.5 second advantage over the chasing pack though. And it looks as though chasing pack is gonna run out of time, and the leaders have calmed down just the right moment. Powell up into 5th. Passes Roberts. When will Gurney make his move, and will Scarisbrick go with him? Archie Heron, meanwhile, is up to 22nd. He has passed Max Reed, and he has passed Daxton Groves. But he is still... Archie Heron is, well, he's got another 2... Well, he's going to start picking up the tail enders now at a rate of knots, is Archie Heron. See how far he can get it. He might scrape the top 20 out of this if all goes well. But 30 seconds to go. Turnbull continues to lead. Gurney gets to the inside, coming out of the dogleg though. And Turnbull squeezes Gurney to the inside. So we go into the closing seconds now. Turnbull continues to lead. Gurney swings wide going into turn number 2. The clock strikes 0. Next time around it'll be the last lap board. Sherry Ann Powell trying to push the number 117 cart of Jacob Ashcroft up towards the 3 leaders. Turnbull having to defend very strongly now coming into the dogleg. This is where Gurney got a good run on him last lap. Will Gurney get a good run again? Not as good. Turnbull checks over his shoulder, and look at Powell and Ashcroft. They are now closing in. The battle for 6th position is between Eddie Stewart in the number 111 cart and Jack Robinson in cart number 129. Jamie Scott runs in 8th position. Turnbull is coming through to get the last lap board now. He defends into turn number 1. Can Gurney get the crossover move? No, because Turnbull defends into turn number 2. They now go into the loop. Scarisbrick is right there. Scarisbrick has been watching these two battle for the entire race. When is he going to make his move? Can he find some clean air to make some move? They're coming around top bend now, and still Turnbull has the lead. Now Turnbull's going to defend very deeply into the dogleg. He's got to. Can Gurney swing around the outside, going into the corner and get a better run up the inside coming out of this complex? He's going for it. He's alongside, is he? Oh, Turnbull comes across and defends. Gurney up over the back and bumper of Turnbull's cart, and Gurney loses 2nd place. Here comes Scarisbrick. Scarisbrick's got the momentum. 2 corners to go. Into the elbow. Turner. Turnbull has the race lead. 1 corner to go. Scarisbrick ducks to the inside. It's a drag race. It's Jacob Turnbull by 0.08 of a second over Connor Scarisbrick. Jamie Gurney finishes 3rd. He went for the move and it didn't quite pay off, but he still finishes on the podium. Jacob Ashcroft comes home in 4th position. From the back of the grid, Sherry Ann Powell salvages 5th position. Eddie Stewart comes home in 6th, the leading rookie driver home. Great result for Eddie. Jack Robinson also from the back of the grid up to 7th. Fantastic drive for him. Jamie Scott comes home in 8th. James Roberts finishes in 9th place. Harry Bartle rounds out the top 10 out of George Barker, Rory Armstrong, Jasmine Taylor in 13th, Ollie Morris 14th, and Archie Pitts Drake rounds out the top 15.